Okay, so I think we are ready. Welcome back. Good morning after coffee. Thank you very much for joining us again today in the second day of the Biofriction Summer Program. As you know, we have today the note of radical ecologies. And today we have as facilitators and carers Regine Rapp and Christian Delutz from our laboratory Berlin, and also Jose Quiroga from INBEC, with whom we will go to the river to do some site-specific workshops in the Besós River. So, as you know, unfortunately, due to the situation, restrictions and everything, Regine and Chris couldn't join us in person, but they are joining us today in a telematic way, to say so. So the idea is to have a presentation by them first, and then to open a round of questions, comments, whatever you want to ask or to share with them, with all of us who are here also sharing the space. We have some technical issues with sound, so the thing is that maybe the best way in order to ask questions is that you ask the question and I have to repeat the question to them using my computer, okay? Just to be a little bit coordinate, because I'll have to mute and unmute my microphone, okay? So, well, thank you so much, Regine and Chris. Very, very welcome. We are missing you so much here in person, but for sure we'll have new opportunities to meet, Barcelona, Berlin, or who knows where. So, as you know, probably you have all the bios in the printed program. Chris and Regine, they are curators and theorists and researchers, and they have this amazing project that you have to check. They are going to present a lot of projects that they have been doing for the last years, but you have to check their Laboratory Berlin project. It's been and is a referent in terms of hybrid practices and practices, like working on experimenting in the intersections between biotech, theory, philosophy, artistic practices, and experimental research in general terms. So check the project because it's super interesting. And the floor is yours. I'm going to mute myself, so if you need me to say something or whatever, please let me know, because I will be, on the backstage. Thank you so much. Very, very welcome. And thanks for connecting.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Angar, Biofriction. Hello, everyone from Berlin. First question, can you hear us? Maybe Laura, you give me, yeah, wonderful. Okay. As Laura said, due to the current situation, we can only be with you in a telepresence, but very intense. And maybe during the day we can communicate longer, because that would have been and is our day together with Jose. Hola, Jose. So thanks for the invitation and for sharing our knowledge and the projects and the research we have done. We would like to introduce you to an art and research project, DIY Hack the Panke, which has to do with the river, Art Science River project here in Berlin that we've been doing for 2-3 years already. And then we also would like to introduce you with other hybrid art projects, art science, ongoing research, and show you a lot of images. And so I think for communication reasons, we give the presentation, but please note questions and critical comments maybe for the Q&A later on. We thought of maybe presenting about 40 minutes plus minus. So I would like to share the screen and So let me see. So I think now maybe that would be. Now I need to have Laura telling me if you can see what I see.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so we have a really brand new web archive and wanted to share with you actually online a little bit about our work. So we will guide you through. Probably a few of you already know that Art Laboratory Berlin, we consider ourselves like an art and science research platform for not only exhibitions but ongoing artistic research, mainly in hybrid art. Performances, workshops, conferences are very kind of like high in our frequency, and for maybe 5-6 years we also have very much found and established an emphasis on life sciences, microbiology, ecologies, etc. And in the last 2 years we have had in Berlin for presentations or workshops artists like you see here, Margarita Pevere, Desiree Förster was on the Non-Human Agents Conference. Here we had Erik Berger and other artists here about radio activity. We had Spela Petric several times. I think this is all probably connecting lots of notes and loose ends and bridging a lot of aspects that you will be working on. And Sasha Spatschal we've had here with a MyConnect. Before we talk about, so here actually this is our research that we have been maybe more or less systematically doing next to the exhibitions and single events and conferences. So the Biofriction Summer Chris will go later on more thoroughly into this project, the Biofriction Summer Art Science Research Project. We are also having, since before last year, a project with Sasha Spatschal about symbiosis. And I'd like to show you a little bit about the Mind the Fungi project that lasted 2 years, collaboration with a biotechnologist from the Technical University in Berlin. I'm just noting the time that I will be nicely in time. And then we've had an intense project with Vivian Zhu about silkworm, an art and design project. The Biofriction the project Chris will present more thoroughly in a little while. Allow me just also to build context and to build bridges. And I think definitely also with biofriction and connected to also the event this week. Let me just show you before we come more thoroughly, maybe 3/5 or so, we will talk about the Biofriction Summer, but let me also present you a few other projects that might be of your interest. So maybe a few of you have already heard or seen or participated. Mind the Fungi was a project about fungi, mushroom, mycelium, basically local mushrooms as a future material, as a sustainable future material. And it was basically tree mushrooms. So you can see here already a tree mushroom. On the right side, you see a biomaterial that was shaped and formed, developed by Farah Peluso, one of the 2 artists that we brought in when the biotechnologists here from the Technical University Berlin asked us in 2018 if we wanted to collaborate. And she said, yeah, sure, we want to collaborate, but definitely also bring in artists. And so we brought in Teresa Schubert and as an artist in residence, and Farah Peluso as a designer in residence. And I'm just telling you this because you probably are in contact with both of them, or maybe you will touch their mycelium network in a way. And also Farah is participant of the Biofriction Summer, which Chris will tell you later on. And in this residency program in Mind the Fungi, Teresa and Farah would use the lab of the applied and molecular microbiologists and the bioprocess engineering people, but then also we had citizen science action. And I think for this day today and for this week, it's I think it's very interesting. It might be interesting for you to quickly have a glance into the part that we did citizen science with the Mind the Fungi project here in Berlin. So we at Art Laboratory Berlin, we had already since 2017 developed this walk and talks, and we thought, okay, we implement this in the Mind the Fungi as well. We took the public together with Theresa Schubert and the biotechnologists from Technological University Berlin. We took them into the forests in Berlin and Brandenburg. So we basically took them there to collect tree fungi. This was in Briesetal in Brandenburg, outside Berlin. Very beautiful river valley. This is Farah Pelus on the left and Carsten on the right, a biotechnologist, collecting. And you see here the collected mushrooms and tree fungi, and we named them, and we went into the lab. And I think this was an interesting project because it really opened up the it allowed us to bring the non-academic people, a broad public, in a non-hierarchical way into the labs and to explore the specimen and to cultivate the collected mushrooms on plates. And what was interesting in the end, so that was in autumn 2018, basically when the project started. Here people collected. And of course, it was not only collecting mushroom, but it was very much also the becoming aware of the phenomena of tree fungi, how we live, the forests, how we interact, and we are in a symbiosis with fungi. Here's Teresa actually guiding the walk and talk. Then we were here in the lab, and why do I say this so much? We were in the lab and worked there because it was the beginning of the project, and basically the cultivated, collected cultivated mushroom would really be the ground, the basis for the collection, which is now in the Applied Molecular Biology lab, and it actually presents the basis of that research for the last 2 years, but also for the future. So I think that was really amazing to see. And you can go on our website to publications, and you can actually see the whole book basically is published after the project officially ended in autumn 2020. We published a book about the science part, the arts part, the research part. It's a really radical interdisciplinary book, which we would really recommend. It's there, open source. You can download it here digitally, and it has a lot about sustainable biomaterials, art and science, community mycelium. This was our part. What does it mean to bring artists and scientists together, and also all the challenges? I mean, it sounds always so, yeah, just do it. And also the merging science and art, and then also I published on my art theoretical point of view on microhuman performances on Sasha Spatschal, Tosh Bates, and Theresa Schubert. Then actually, before we come to DIY Hack the Punke, there are a lot of connections to the water. And so maybe today we can call our presentation DIY Hybrid Arts and Water. So this would have been actually our contribution, either sitting with you in the hangar or now actually telepresents. And a project we also would like to quickly touch is an exhibition project from 2019. It represented 3 outstanding artists, female and non-binary artists, Kat Austen, Mary Magic, Farah Peluso, and it was dedicated to water ecologies and their artistic research. So ongoing projects, finished projects, and also why do we show you this here? Because Kat and Farah are part of DIY Hack the Punke, and Mary Magic will be with you on Thursday. So I think here there are, again, other more bridges to build. And what you see right now here is a photograph that was taken by Kat Austin during her artistic research in the Arctic, in the northern Canadian islands, the Baffin Islands, when she was allowed to go with scientists on a ship, and she would record, and Kat Austin is in her person an artist and scientist in one. So she is a chemist with PhD background and moved on to ecology journalism, and then actually now for some years already she's an established artist. So this is an interesting moment, and this photograph was part then on a project that we showed in the exhibition, The Matter of the Soul. Since 2017 she would create that, and I can quickly show you here. You see objects, cassettes with sound, you see images, but you also see here in the background we showed a symphony about an hour long. She had recorded, she composed music, and in this project she examines the impact of climate change in the Canadian high Arctic through sound composition, sculpture, performance. This project exists, as you can see here on the image, in myriad life forms. Live performance, sound piece, objects, images, or falling. Theme for Kat Austin. She is actually really, I mean, the basic question is how vibration based on the oxygen and carbon dioxide cycle. The prototype shows a striking mesh with a biomorphic structure. Is explored further in reactor, that which you see here in the back, which is actually a carable developed in collaboration with BioArt laboratories in Eindhoven in the Netherlands, and here the symbiosis resembles a cyborg-like being as the human body appears to melt together with the algae expressing a biophilic performative character. And also what you see here in the front is this ongoing artistic and design research from Farah about different parts, different forms of algae. Then also in the exhibition in early 2019, we showed Mary Magic, and that was very dear to us. To have her in the exhibition in Berlin, and we had her in the conference Non-Human Agents. And I really recommend you the conference, from all the 3 days of all the presentations and talks and discussions by the artists and scholars from humanities and sciences. They are all recorded. You can actually go to our publication. And also I say this because Laura gave a really impressive presentation there. And so we also invited Mary Magic to the conference, and then we actually presented here in the exhibition Water Ecologies some parts, reference to the workshops, and of course also the idea of the molecular queering. As we can say that in her work, she focuses on the presence and effect of endocrine disruptors in water, and I think you probably will talk about this today. So not just estrogen from birth control pills, but many pesticides and other chemicals produce estrogen-like chemicals, estrogens, that flow into wetlands and infiltrate drinking water. So Mary's work also questions our cultural notions of gender and conformity at a time, we would say, when our industrial drainage has changed the environment chemically and hormonally for over a century. I guess Mary probably will talk also about exactly that on Thursday. So her projects generate, we could say, DIY protocols for the extraction and detection of estrogen hormones from bodies and environments, reflecting microperformability and a potential for sex and gender hacking. And this is probably definitely where we are here and why we meet here this week. And here you have actually part of her project Molecular Queering Agency some years back. Well, also actually talking about Mary, again, we would collaborate with Mary and we planned it for some while, and then we got finally the funding for a project, the Camille Diaries, last year, which we also had to realize under challenging situations with a pandemic, which would be actually a sort of a double challenge, but also a double welcoming, because that group project last year, the Camille Diaries, was exactly about elements of care and this new artistic positions of M/otherhood, life and care. That was a project we were invited by Ida Benke from Denmark and Ibn Kirksey, and they had years back formed M/others and Future Humans, and that was an open call, and they invited us in Berlin to also curate a project. And you can see here we had 11 artists, female and non-binary artists, invited for that exhibition, and also like a conference, and which is also entirely recorded, and you can also check this out. And we just, on our presentation today, I just wanted to show you Mary's work that she had researched on when she had a Fulbright stipend in 2019 in Yogyakarta in Java, Indonesia. And we were very fascinated since the project was arising. We wanted to bring this to Berlin. Then she had exhibited this piece, Milik Bersama Rekombinan, in Yogyakarta itself in the Art Museum, and then it was actually in the Science Museum in London, and then it came to Berlin. And so Mary, her work actually explores the surreal landscape of an urban Indonesian river, and it's Chode River, and colonized by plastic with toxic implications for nearby inhabitants. So what she would do is she would also work together with artists, science, and hackers there in the group of LifePatch. And so you probably know LifePatch. A few of you have been also in Yogyakarta. So you know this fascinating, we could even say automatic collaboration of different disciplines coming together, and also not only the necessity, but just the doing together in Yogyakarta. And so Mary would work with them together on a very transdisciplinary way. And so she would research this river. You see it here in the center. And she would collect garbage that she would actually present in the end then on latex. And she would actually produce mandala-like video where she would exactly what I said earlier, visualize the molecular queering phenomenon based on that research project in connected to the Chode River. So we could say so much more, but we wanted to come to die Aberhakte Panke, and so actually, I would give over to Chris, and here we go with our project there.
So DIY Hakta Panka actually arose after the 2017 conference, when several young scientists, postdocs, doctoral students, approached us saying they would like to work with artists. And we knew there were a number of artists in Berlin who would be interested in that. The catch is none of them were in charge of a laboratory. They were working in laboratories, but they couldn't promise that the PIs would allow in artists. So we suggested a DIY project, and we had a meeting of about 12 artists and scientists, and we decided to take a local river, the Panke River, which it runs about, it runs from north of Berlin into the city center, goes into the Spree, which runs through the center of Berlin. and the Panca is about a block from our space, so it's very convenient. It's also a kind of a green zone through the working class and immigrant neighborhood of Wedding, Berlin-Wedding, where we are located. But it has an interesting history. That area was, before the Second World War, both a working class area, but also an industrial area with tanneries, paper factories, and so on. So the river was at one point 100 years ago so polluted that it had the name Stinkpanka. As a matter of fact, there's a song that refers to the Stinkpanka by Marlene Dietrich. After the Second World War, many of those factories were shut down for economic reasons. They were in West Berlin. They weren't economically viable anymore, which ended up being in a way a positive for the neighborhood, at least ecologically. The area around them was turned into a green zone, a park zone, but there are still lots of traces of its industrial past. And so we decided to concentrate on the Panca in different ways. I'll come back a little later to what you see there in that picture, the Unreal Ecologies microplastics workshop. But maybe I'll talk a little bit about the team. You can see here, Ink Agap is an artist. Kat Austin, we mentioned, we'll come back to, is artist and chemist. Sarah Hermanutz. Daniel Lamel is a microbiologist at the Free University, Ecology of Plants. Regina and I are members. Joanna McLean is a microbiologist interested in in plastics and the microbiome of plastics and how bacteria interact with plastics, from the Geoforschungcenter in Potsdam. India Mansour is a biologist at the Ecology of Plants. Elliot Morrison is a biochemist with a background also in art and illustration. Farah Peluso, we've introduced, designer and artist. Nenad Popov is a media and sound artist. And James Whitehead is a biologist also at the Ecology of Plants. What we've covered are topics like microplastics, but also biomatic and artistic research, but also what lives in the Panca, especially on a microbial level. Hydrofeminism, water ecologies, community coalescence on multiple levels from the micro to the macro, mud ecologies, and the history, the ecological as well as eco-cultural history of the Panca River. And so we'll go on to, we'll maybe start with more recent projects and go backwards. So last year was not a very active year for us, but we did have an online event with Nana McLean and Kat Austin, which was Microplastics and Coexistence. Since the beginning of the project, these two have worked on microplastics in the Panca, and Kat especially has been interested in the idea that, okay, microplastics aren't going away. If we stopped using plastics tomorrow, there would still be tons of microplastics. So how is this going to affect us? She's been recently doing a project where she's growing birch saplings with microplastics around them and see how it affects their growth. So this was a talk. It's online. You can find it in our website under events or under DIY Hack the Panca. And it was a sort of a talk and workshop with other participants on the idea of living in an age of microplastics. Okay, and we also did a project throughout 2019 and into early 2020 with the Gustav Freitag Schule, which is it's an urban school located about 1 kilometer from the Panca River. So it's theoretically the neighboring district of Reinickendorf, but most of the kids know the Panca from their daily life. And what we did is a series of workshops over the course of the year. Also, here's a visit connected to the Mind the Fungi project to the Futurium, where we had an exhibition, and one of the scientists from the TU is working with the students there. There were kids from 12 to 17. We worked with classes, and also here I think was the science club in the group. here is actually a microplastics workshop we did with Kat and Nana with them in early 2019. Here's a walk along the Panka and another project. Here's with Farah, a project with algae and possible futures. Yeah, and again, microplastics. They're making density columns, which I guess you might be doing later today. Now this was a sound. It was working with sonifying pH and salt levels in water. That was with Kat. Yeah. Then we also did a project. Let me just see. No, is that okay. This was a workshop, a sound workshop, sonifying water movement, sometimes with pH, with Kat Austin and Nenad Popov in autumn of 2019. So they actually were making the instruments on site and then going to the river and working with them. And at the end was followed up by a concert with Sarah and Nenad using water, in this case water from the Panka, but using it as part of an audiovisual performance. We did a series of our walk and talks. Here's Elliot Morrison, along with Daniela Mel, giving a talk on nitrogen cycles and waterways. And the second walk and talk, which had to do with decay and feedback, reckoning with the wild and unsightly. Walk along the Panka with different experiments. You see India Mansoor in the Panka. Just see. James Whitehead digging the soil, and we were examining the soil and the different levels of it, both a little bit from the river and in a kind of an overflow basin. And then there was the microbiodiversity workshop that Sarah, India, and Farah had in spring of 2019, in which a group of people were working with the microbiology, the flora and fauna. This was also done with students a week before, and then we followed up with the general public. So we had some of the results from the student workshop. So what grew in the soil, in the mud, and in the water. So here's a little digital microscopy. Yeah, see that here. There are Farah in India. We're making Vinogradsky columns, DIY Vinogradsky columns as part of the project. Yeah. And that was team. So let me go back. Okay, this was a 29, a rerun of the original Unreal Ecologies workshop. And let me see, go up here. So the first workshop we did was 2018. We had just formed, and we got a little grant to do a project. And so we put it into this, which was microplastics in the Panka River. Here's Kat collecting a net. We basically put beer nets, so nets that we could purchase for 10 euros for making your own beer, and put them overnight in the river. part of the process she did was a hydrogen peroxide oxidation, so heating them with hydrogen peroxide solution so that it would burn away the organic matter. Here's Nana giving a talk. Yeah, here's the... We tried it also with DIY chemicals and then also some lab hydrogen peroxide and then DIY hydrogen peroxide from hair dyeing or from the pharmacy. And then finally, the isolated pieces, where we looked at them under the microscope, which I'll show in a minute with a dye, but we also took some larger pieces and put them in a DIY density column. Then we could identify what type of plastic they were. These columns, there are various recipes, but usually it's something like honey, then a layer of syrup, then a layer of glycerin, then soap detergent, vegetable oil, and ethanol or lamp oil on top. And you drop the plastic in, and where it floats or stops moving it can determine what type of plastic it is. So here, when we first came back from the, okay, here's the gathering of the, we found a lot of other larger objects in the river. Here's some little microplastics. Then the works were sieved. One group oxidized it, and this is some of the oxidation. Sometimes they got too hot and started to smoke. So it was, and then using a Nile red, it's called Nile red, but it actually does is it colors. What's left is mineral and plastic, and you place the Nile red in, which was the only really non-DIY chemical. It's really, Kat and Nana have been looking for an alternative, but they haven't found one. Basically, the white glowing thing is plastic, and if it's kind of colored by the blue, it's non-plastic. This is not a picture from the with the fluorescent. These are just digital microscopic images where you see threads. But with the dye and the fluorescent lighting, you can see some of them. Let me see if we have that. Yeah. And online, we have some of our results. We also have the protocols as a PDF, which you can also download if you want. Yeah. And so this was the DIY Banca Unreal Ecologies Microplastics Workshop, which has kind of formed it's something that we've done multiple times because it really brings in a real interest from the part of the public to it and to finding out about the river. And it's something that's really everywhere. It's really been part of this research. We've really discovered that microplastics are really ubiquitous. They are everywhere, you know, from the polar ice caps to, you know, and they're to everywhere around us in our daily life. They rain from the sky upon us as we walk outside. They're in our drinking water. They're in everything that we drink, like they're in our beer. It's really amazing that they didn't exist 120 years ago, and now they are part of our everyday metabolism. And we could also go talking about nanoplastics, which are the even smaller pieces of microplastic that can even enter our cells. Yeah, and so DIY Hack the Panka has been, as far as public actions, pretty dormant since last spring due to the pandemic. Though we've all met online and occasionally, more recently in person, and you know, the scientists have been very eager and still meeting with the artists and also with some other artists that we've kind of pushed their way for future collaborative projects. And we're looking forward, hopefully, to next year and doing some more public workshops with them, Also, over the last year, DIY Hack the Punk has been the backbone of an online series of community meetings between Berlin and Tokyo. So in collaboration with Bio Club Tokyo, we've had something we call the Viral Cloud, which have been 14 meetings, online meetings with presentations, talks, discussions with artists and scientists, both in Berlin and Tokyo, and then guests from Taiwan, Thailand, and the Netherlands, and so on.
Okay, so far, so good. Here we are. And here are our density columns that we prepared. Okay, I mute myself for the conversation.
Super. Sorry, I was saying that thank you so much for your wonderful presentation and for sharing with us so many interesting information. We have time for questions, comments, whatever you want to share with Chris and Regine. Maybe, I don't know, if you have some specific questions or... No? Okay, I can break the ice. So I think that, for example, of course, for us was a kind of an intuition that the Hack the Punk and also some of the projects that IMBEC they've been working on has a lot of things in common. So for us, it makes sense in a, in a node that it's called radical ecologies, but of course it's present in the other nodes during the program because nodes are, entangled and transversal and if maybe more thematic than transversal in a way. But I think that I find really, really interesting and I think that I'll have present today when we go together to the Besós River, also with Jose, is the class vector, because you already mentioned that the punk is crossing an area, is a working class neighborhood. Okay. So the same happened here with the Besós. So I think that also is important to bear in mind these kind of vectors, as a historical and material conditions, in terms of doing situated research or situated experiments. So it's something that I will be thinking about today, in order to bear in mind something that I think it's really, really important. So I don't know if breaking the ice was helping to maybe to articulate some other comments or questions, something you want to share. Well, maybe during the day is also a possibility, after the workshop with Jose. I don't know, Jose, if you want to say something or if you want to ask something or to share, not really, not now.
I love the adaptation thing in relation to the extra there.
Maybe yes, I think that it's better.
Okay.
Después, sí.
Okay. No, what you said about the adaptation of microplastics remembered me of the laboratory Planet Laboratory number 5, and there's a lovely text that talks about how we should slowly incorporating plastic to our diet, right? There'll be a time where, we are eating already plastic and not knowing how much or what kind of plastic, right? And it says that we should program how to incorporate plastic to our diet, or well, that's just a comment. A crazy maybe.
Okay. Okay, it seems. It seems that there's no more questions or comments for now, but maybe we can reconnect once we come back to Angar after the workshop in Besós River. Okay, thanks. No? Yeah, okay. They are saying that, yeah, maybe during the workshop, doing some hands-on site-specific stuff, maybe there will be, and the density columns, of course. We will be articulating things, so we'll come back to you with comments and questions afterwards, okay? Super. Thank you so much. And I'll keep you updated during the day and text you back when we come back to Angar during the afternoon, okay? Thank you so much.
Have a great finding and researching.
Bye. Okay. Yeah, I know that, we all know that online things are way more difficult in order to, to share questions or comments or whatever, and maybe, timings are different, so maybe during the day we think and share stuff, and afterwards maybe we have questions or maybe not, and it's not a problem at all. So, are you using my computer? Yeah, super. ¿Vas a proyectar?
Sí. Entra al Jitsi y comparte la pantalla.
Ah, vale. Porque, Mateo.
Con tu ordenador no teníamos el costo.
Claro, por eso. Es que como no tiene nada para proyector con mi ordenador.
Pero
igual.
dentro del Jitsi.
Lo que prefiero.
It'll take 5 minutes or 3 minutes to put some stuff on the screen if you want to grab a fast tea or something like that out there. It's 5 minutes to put some websites. Oh, fuck. Bien. Vamos, Ubuntu. ¿Cómo chucha se busca aquí? Vamos, el browser. Oh, qué hostia. ¿Cómo es la arroba aquí en las Macs? Ahí está, está. Sí, bien. ¿Cómo es el full screen aquí? 11, ¿eh? Y ahí, vale. Muy bien. No.
Un splitter, entonces no puedo poner directamente la pantalla, o sea, pongo lo que graba la cámara. No puedo extrapolar directamente ese pasar al stream.
Igual, si no, no es para llenar, es para llenar. Es para llenar, querido. Dale. Sí, espera un momento. Hola. Sorry, but I had to reboot because it got freezed, so it will be in 30 seconds more, I think, or 5 minutes. Mateo. No tienes que hacer nada más, ¿no? Vale. Okay, thank you. Sorry for the delay. My name is Jose Quiroga. I don't know if this is maybe a little bit... Okay. And I'm part of the IMBEC project that stands for, in English should be the Institute for the Grassroots Monitoring of Contaminated Areas. And we are basically a non-for-profit organization that was basically created to get a grant, we could say that. Here in Angar, we've been 3 years a resident collective in Angar till last year. And we are 2 photographers that are, I mean, 2 white European photographers that have been working in documentary photography for 10 years. And after the Colors Mountain project, we decided to create this organization. The Colors Mountain, you can go on thecolorsmountain.org, is an investigation in a landfill in South Spain in Orihuela. And basically what we did was to work with 2 villages that are really close to the La Murada. I was trying to show you the place, but it broke when I opened the Google Maps, so I won't show it. But basically what we did was to begin an investigation like a photographer, going there, taking pictures. No one asked us to go there. And during this, we got in relation with the people from La Murada and Navanilla, these two villages. And they were occupying, it was during the occupation of the squares here in Spain, and they occupied the entrance of this big landfill. That is an illegal landfill in between 3 provinces. So there are 3 departments of judgment, I don't know. So to close it, you need to do 3 trials, just to understand, right? And they were occupying this entrance. So what we did was to begin like a learning process about documenting or basic techniques on investigation with the people of La Murada and Habanilla. And the project, you should invest at least 3 hours to see the whole project, because we did it using the art like an umbrella. I mean, we tried not to do it in a journalistic way. The project is divided in 6 parts. It was divided initially in 3 parts. The Red Mountain, that is using techniques of espionage and social control to get to harass, in a way, the polluter. The Green Mountain, where we did a study, image study, and collecting samples of the changes in the geographical area. The Yellow Mountain is related to contaminated areas, but nuclear, chemical, and biological. The Blue Mountain is a systematic archive of the classified documents and court decisions. The White Mountain is audio-based, and the Black Mountain is a DIY set of resources. During that process, what we learned is that, you cannot go to a place where you're not called in. It began a process of understanding that our privileges as photographers, as white European photographers, we wanted to go to the ex-colonies and take pictures of poverty and so on. And during that, at the end, I mean, we never used the material until the trials were ended and the landfill was closed. And what we did with this material was to put it in the, I mean, now you can go on the colorsmountain.org, but until the process was finished, we put it in the Tor network. Hands up who doesn't know what the Tor network is. Okay, the Tor network is a network of servers that you need to connect with a special browser. There's the Tor browser that's configured to connect to this network. So your connection is encrypted with 3 layers of encryption. Basically, you can hide your IP. You can, I mean, it's the most private and anonymous browser in the internet. And there is a characteristic that servers that are within the Tor network are not localized, I mean, are not geographically, I mean, is not able, doesn't, how do you say this in English? Shit. I mean, there's no IP, there's no geographical position of the server, so there's no, I mean, it's not easy to get to the administrator of the server, right? What we did was basically collect a lot of material, recording at 6 in the morning, illegal dumps, recording, I don't know, it's a huge landfill that there's, I don't know, this size, but there's 5 times more area that is outside the landfill, and there are dumps outside this landfill. And what we did was with the complicity of some workers of the landfill. Sorry, before that, I mean, if you want to see a website, like, I mean, we have a platform in the network. 1 second, please. This is an address on the Tor network, so it's unrememberable. And the thing is that no one, just maybe the National Security Agency of the United States, has the power to know where a server is located, who is administrating that server. So what we did was to put in the knowledge of the polluter, the owners of the landfill, that this material, the Colors Mountain material, was online. I mean, that someone was looking at them and was collecting data. We have hundreds of pages of records with the plates of the truck the hour of when it gets into the landfill, 5 in the morning, it's illegal to dump trash in a landfill in Spain at 5 in the morning. I mean, in the evening, at night. I mean, so if you're at night during this operation, you're doing something illegal, no? So the idea was to harass and to pressure the polluter. If we had published all this material maybe in the main journal in Spain, the El País, or in the New York Times, it's possible for the polluter to get to the director and to put it on the, I mean, and maybe there's one publication and there's no more publication because you can get to the administrator, you can get to the person who's publishing that, and there are a lot of interest in all this. So we put it in the Tor network. To put some pressure. We weaponized the image in a way, no? Or all the materials was used in like a weapon against the persons who were committing these crimes. And of course, I mean, there's rates of cancer, plomo, how is it, plomo? Well, lead contamination in children. I mean, this amazing data. I mean, there's people dying there a lot because of this. And once one of the trials was ended, they ordered to close the landfill. And this is when we create the IMBEC. We get to Hangar to develop an Arduino-based device, because you can close a landfill, but the shit is still there. I mean, it's producing a lot of toxic gas, and we wanted to do a tiny device under $150 or so to monitor the gases produced there, even if the landfill was closed. And that's when we get to Hangar. So I'm sorry our website is in Spanish. It has been in English in the past, but. No, then I'll go. Yeah, there's the Tor browser here, I know. And okay, well, this is the IMBEC website. What we do is basically develop techniques, low-tech methods and techniques to investigate. You can imagine this like a family crime scene investigation. I mean, all these forensic techniques downgraded so anyone can use them. I mean, you don't need a $1,000 equipment to get some forensic pictures, but you need to know the techniques and the methods, right? What we do is basically learning and accompaniment, I don't know if this word exists in English, of communities affected by contamination. What we want is, we work with a reasonable doubt concept. Then in trial means that no one can be condemned if there's a reasonable doubt that didn't do the thing. We work with that, but we turn it upside down. What we want to achieve is that communities can get the minimum knowledge to do some investigation, a dossier that when you go to the authorities, they can understand what's happening there to generate the reasonable doubt that something's happening, right? I mean, we don't use highly certified tools, $30,000 sensors or whatever, but we can we can make some understandable, informed, or I don't say, dossier about what's happening there and force the non-acting authorities to act, correct? Then, we come from the documentary photograph. I'm a technician in photography. My associate is the same, so we also do environmental investigation. And then we develop tools and methods to adapt complicated processes or processes that imply really expensive materials. So anyone can do it with affordable materials. And yeah, I told at the beginning that we are photographers. I didn't want to so much colonies to take pictures, but yes, my associate has been taking pictures in Libya and Mexico, and okay, and we reject the going there, so we try not to. I mean, we're not a parachute team, like basically all the photographs in the world, European white photographers. We've developed the Registro website. That is where we document all the methods. You can go on regist.ro. And we have this learning program because we also come from the free software movement, and yeah, basic knowledge. I mean, sharing knowledge is a basic for human survival, has been and will be. You can visit our website and go to our channels, video channels. We've been doing online formation or learning on sessions for the last 6 years. Kind of pioneers. And yeah, investigation. Yeah, I'll show you. I mean, we're also part of the public lab. Hands up who doesn't know the public lab? All the others know the public lab? That's nice. No, okay. Public, I mean, we are organizers of the public lab, and public lab is a community and it's a non-for-profit organization, and also a community that is linked around this publiclab.org website. And basically, what we do at the public lab is to develop easy, affordable techniques and methods to do environmental investigation. I have to say one thing, just to be clear and to know each other. As we use scientific tools, we are a lot of times, and maybe because of that we're here, framed in the citizen science thingy, and well, we refuse the term citizen, first of all, and I don't know if we do science because we are not using calibrated tools. Yeah. Just a comment. I recommend you log into the public lab, create your profile there. We use it as our blog and the place where we do peer-to-peer revision of our things. We put it there, and there's a lot of activity in the website. Yeah, well, simple public lab. Okay, we're going to go to what we're going to do today, okay? That was a little bit, I don't know if you understood something of what I told. Okay. Okay, we've been working with a collective this is the area where we're going to be today, San Adrià. Well, I don't know if you know where you're located. Sorry. No. Oh. Here. Okay, this is Barcelona. This should be Hangar, I think. Got lost. Okay, here's Hangar. And this is the Besós River. Sorry. Okay. What we talk about these tools. When we get to Hangar, we wanted to do this Leptos device. Leptos is a stremophilo, a tiny microorganism that can live in extreme conditions of acidity and so on. And yeah, we use this name because the device was to be put in this kind of areas. We discontinued the project because sensors in the Arduino world that are under $50 are not, are not precise. Of course, they're not precise, but you cannot trust that if you are talking about methane or lethal gases. We wanted to do this as a first emergency call device. When we began to do tests, we realized that, for example, the sensor we use for the gases can read 3 kinds of gases, and then interpolates and imagines. It says if we have propane and ethanol, there must be methane. I said no, or there is, or there's not. It's not trustworthy, that thing. And we were developing this thing, and there's a crematorium now, but 3 years ago there was not, and there's an assembly here in San Adrià. There is this area here that called us to ask if we could use this device for their problem in relation to this crematorium. And we said no. It's not trustworthy, but we can do a mapping and we can begin to work together, and we did this map, right? Okay. Where do I begin with San Adrià? San Adrià has had, for the last 70 years or so, a huge coal burning electric plant. Yep, that's located here, and this is since I don't know, the 30s or the 40s. Then here there have been electric plants since the last 50 years. When this was closed, the process of was located here. If I can, polluting areas. We got this huge combined cycle thermoelectric power plant. It has 4 chimneys here. And this is the central trash crematorium of the city of Barcelona. It's the biggest trash burning facility, and it's, of course, it's close to the sea, but it's almost in the middle of the city, right? Basically, wind, as you can imagine, comes from 90% of the time from the sea, spreading all this burnt trash to the rest of the city. Okay, this is the San Adrià City Council. These are the polluting areas. Okay, this thermoelectric power plant, the trash burning facility, there's a sludge neutralizer of the water treatment. The water treatments use this kind of sludge. When they use it, they have to neutralize it. They take them here. And then they go under the city from here to here. And then you have the Gran Via, making this area, and exact this point here, the one with more traffic of the city, going around 150,000 cars per day here. And what you said before, Laura, about the class, there's also a race implication in Barcelona. Barcelona has been, the Olympics were a turning point in the city of Barcelona. But 30 years before, it began a process of displacing and destroying all the illegal encampments, basically of gypsy population. They were all around the city. There was a huge one in the Zona Franca, it was here Cantunis. There was huge encampments in the Meridiana Avenue. And then here close to the sea, there were 3 or 4 here, Camp de la Bota, Cantunis. Okay, This is a process that's parallel in Madrid, okay, but with different methods. What the city council did was to close these encampments and to build huge concrete blocks in this area. Here that is called La Mina. It was a progressive process that had maybe two big, etapas, two big stages, ending in the 1964, 1967, or something like that. At the end of this process, around 50,000 people were moved to this area here. And just the year after the 50,000 people were displaced here, the trash facility, burning facility was built, was inaugurated, okay? I mean, this is a sacrifice area, clearly. And these people was moved here, knowing exactly that there was the thermoelectric power plant that always has been. There was another here in the past. I mean, all the wind goes here. And as you can see, there's this dramatic car hog. I mean, yeah, there are 100,000 cars passing here all the day and generating, creating a very big polluted area. There's also, I mean, this is the forum area. This was built and big, I don't know how to say this, wall of high-class apartments was built here. So you cover up this thing. Yeah. This is the place where we're going to be today. There's also, you can see it here, the thermoelectric power plant polluting areas here is burning gas, and also with the heat generated it's combined cycle, reuses the heat generated by the mechanism, and needs to cool down all the thing, and grabs water from 30 or 400 meters here. Has big tubes that are grabbing seawater at 20 degrees maybe, and then drops it again after cooling down the system here around 38 degrees or so. And I mean, it's absolutely impossible to stay here 5 minutes because of the chlorine. It's not chlorine, is chlorine? Okay. Yeah, we can walk there today. We're going to be in this area here. Yeah, but you cannot walk. So there's chlorine and 38 degrees water pumping from the thing. All the corrientes, the water flux here, I mean, all this contamination of this river is never going up because of how the sea is working here. All this shit goes to La Barceloneta, goes to, well, these fantastic beaches we have in Barcelona. So if you want to go to the sea, better go here. Mataró and so on, okay? Just for the record. Understood? There at the end? Okay, then what we did with the people in San Adrià was to map in yellow, I think, are the sports centers. Schools are in this violet color. This was the future incinerator, and the only air quality device in the area is this. Wind is basically coming like this, and this is also, I mean, we're not going to go there because it's a little bit far, but I mean, it's like there are walls around this, and this a device is like if you put a device inside here and want to check the quality outside, right? You can interrupt me. Also, my mouth is getting a little bit dry. Yeah, you can go on Inbec Tech Sant Adrià. And I also think I got it in English. Isn't Sant'Adria Eng. Then I'll make a document then after and put all these things. San Adria, I think we had it in English, but I can't remember really. Page not found. Okay, then I'll find it and Laura can get it to you. So what we've done there was to do a not so extensive monitoring of this water, going there and taking samples, just measuring the pH and the temperature, that's testimola. And we've done some mapping, aerial mapping of the area of the place with kites and balloons. Okay, I want, maybe we can, well, this is the best picture we've taken of the facility with a kite. We're going to do this today. What I wanted is to see with you a little bit what we're going to do there. There are two things, basically. One, for sure. The second, if we have lucky with the wind. This is our manuals and methods website, Registro, in Spanish, register. I think it's a great name for a project of registry of aggregations. Registro/n. This website is built with a really lightweight CMS. It's called Pico CMS, and it's really fast and generates, I think, 0.19 grams of carbon. That is almost nothing. But we did this because we want these tools to be affordable, and bandwidth is not affordable and in all the parts of the world, so anyone can download the manuals. I mean, you can check it online, and you can also download the manual to check it offline. This is what we're going to do today. We'll make a sample, soil sampling activity. During 2018, we were working with Tabacalera in Donosti. It's a contemporary culture center, and they have these open working groups. Once a year, they do an open call. You can present your proposal, and they asked us to start a GAIMEC, un grupo abierto de investigación medioambiental, an open group on environmental investigation. The thing is, if you are selected, the only condition is that the group has to be open. You can do whatever. You have a tiny budget, and anyone can reach the group. And during that year, people from Donosti, there were people in Mexico, but people from Donosti wanted to investigate the river, the Urumea River in Donosti. So they contacted by themselves a teacher of the university that makes this kind of underground soil sampling. They did a workshop, we documented it, and we are replicating this technique because it's really nice. What we're going to do basically is to carry a PVC tube. PVC? That has been cut. It's not a 100 centimeters, we've picked 70 centimeters. We've cut it alongside and put it together again with a lot of cinta americana, hard tape, I don't know, duct tape. This is strong duct tape. And well, you can check it on the website, but these are the basic materials: a big hammer, shovel, a golpeador. That is it's a tiny piece of wood with some part that is not that is soft, so you can hit it with the hammer. I mean, you've seen this in horror films, maybe in the ice. They put these tubes, take out the new pandemics from the Cretácico. Yeah, we put the tube inside the ground. I mean, you are going to do this. I'm not going to hammer anything today. And then open the tube. What we have to do, I mean, I'm saying this because I used to forget parts of the process, so if you know it, maybe we do it cool. We have to do an observation of the content, looking for differences of texture, differences of color in the sludge. And in this case, for example, we have these three different, I don't know how to say this, sediments. We identified these three. So the idea is we are going to take, we're going to cut it in sections of 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter, it doesn't matter, okay? And grab the central one of the areas. The idea is that you can get a timeline of the pollutants in the ground. But maybe pollutants are more here than here. Okay, you grab the central one, you send it to analyze. It's like $12 per analytic. You get a full periodic table of the elements found there. For example, if this was the one who has more, I mean, who has a presence of, I don't know, we're looking for lead. And there's more here than here and here. We should grab this second, this upper and lower parts, and send it to analyze. Imagine that then, yeah. Where? Okay, we send it to a laboratory, a conventional laboratory. We are sending it to the same laboratory that Hannah told us in the workshop that is in Canada. I mean, of course, there's no need to send to Canada. I mean, it's $12 including sending and so on. But I mean, it's not so expensive, but there's a transatlantic sending that maybe is not necessary. We have to take into account that during the colors mountain process, we did one thing that was to do some comparative cultivations. We do this with schools. You grab 5 or 3 samples of lactose and the same one, I mean 6, 3 and 3, and you feed it with, what we did was to feed these ones with water, clean water of Bethoya commercial, and these ones with lixiviates. The liquids produced in the landfills that then pour out and are full of toxics and so on. And yes, what we did was to feed ones with water, feed the others with tar, and the result was this. When we show this to the kids, and we ask what kind of vegetables are these, they say that these are lactose and these are spinach. Okay? I mean, maybe if I don't tell you, you cannot say that these are the sisters. I mean, exactly sisters, right? We did this with coles that are big, because when you send this to analyze, you need, I don't know, around 200 grams of dry material. Okay, dry? Yeah, dry material. We send the control ones that were fed with water and the other ones, and we just received to a laboratory here in Spain, and we received only the analytics of the clean water ones. I'm not saying that that there was some strange things there, but the strange thing happened again. I mean, the fact is that they didn't send us. I mean, we have to ask. Yeah, there was we didn't know it was. I mean, so sending to a laboratory that is outside your area is not a bad idea, because these kind of people. I mean, this landfill, the Colors Mountains landfill, is within the Brugal operation. There is a huge mafia, Partido Popular is inside. I mean, there's a huge mafia around waste management in the Valencia, Murcia area. I mean, it's a huge trial that has a lot of people involved, and this landfill is inside that. So, I mean, to say it clear, my associate has he's associate in another project. His father is a cop in the area, and we know that the boyfriend of Mariano Rajoy is the owner of that place. So, I mean, it's high-level implication of the pollutants involved. So, well, it's not a bad idea to do these kind of things outside the range of the pollutant, right? But yeah, we are doing this and not sending to Canada. I don't know where we're going to send it in Spain, but we're going to send it to Spain, the samples today. I don't know if we can do today the second part of there's the extraction and the processing of the samples to send to the laboratory. You can send the material wet, or you can send it dry. Laboratories only need 3 or 4 grams of dry material. Contaminants adhere more easily to tiny pieces of material. So if you send it, you pay less if you send it processed. You pay a little bit more if you send it unprocessed. We've done the same thing in the Anoia River. I don't know, you know Calafou, okay? I don't know if you know Calafou. It's an ex-industrial colony in the central Catalonia. I live there, and there's one of the most polluted rivers in 10 years ago was the Anoia River because of the leather and paper industries that goes back to the 14th century, the paper mills and so on. And we didn't process the material. We sent the bags with the wet thing, and that's it. But yeah, you have documented the process here to process the materials. This is what we'll be doing in the Besós River, and if we are lucky, and I think we'll be lucky, we'll be doing some aerial mapping with a huge kite. Those who know Public Lab was founded 10 years ago after the British petroleum oil spill in the Mexican Gulf. There was a lockout. The authorities closed the aerial permits or so on. So people from the Public Lab, Jeff and so on, to use balloons, helium balloons, 2-meter huge captive balloons, to take aerial pictures of the contamination. Has a lot of benefits. You cannot fly or do some things that a drone can do, but a drone costs, I don't know, $600-700 a drone you can use to do recordings and so on, right? You need a lot of flying time to be a good pilot, right? You need the components, you need to have the replacement components, you need to have the knowledge to put them in place. And balloons and kites in 1 4-hour session, anyone knows, can do aerial photography, right? I have a high quality kite that is $100. It's a big 2 meters kite, first marca. It's good. It's not a, AliExpress kite. A clone of GoPro is $50, so $150, and you have your equipment. If you have a bad, if everything goes bad, you lose $150. Maybe you have to to repair the kite. You don't need to solder, no electronics and so on. And the same happens with the cameras. $50 clone, GoPro clone. Has anyone flown a kite? You've flown a kite. Yeah, to fly a kite. Okay. Yeah, two. Okay. Cool. I mean, until I began with this thing, I've had kites when I was young and never reached to. I mean, maybe there was no wind. I don't know. I can't remember, or no one taught me how to do it. And it's okay. We used one single line kites, so you can fly in the direction that the wind permits you. I mean, if you want to photograph that, and you have to do it from here, or the wind comes from here, you cannot do it. Okay, there's some limitations in the thing, but there are other things that, I mean, we cannot fly a drone legally in the city of Barcelona or any city that is has aerial control. If you have one helicopter thing port, there's a control and you cannot fly. You need a permit. There's no permit needed for kites or balloons. That is cool. And yeah, there's basically two types of stands for flying a kite. There's also documentation to assemble yours. This is the pendulum one, that is the most basic and easy to do stand. You understand the thing? No. Okay. There's a metallic alambre. There's a rubber water manguera tube, flexible, that is attached to a metallic L to put and the camera. So then you attach this coil to the line of the kite, and with the tension it gets there. So then you fly it, and it goes taking in a time lapse. It's taking pictures. You let the kite go high, and when it's high, you walk, and the time you go taking pictures of the area. And the second stand is the one we have today. It's a little bit more complicated to fly, but it's more stable. This is none of this is a technique we've developed, and I mean, kiting is thousands of years, and this Picabet, this is the Picabet Stand. The name comes from the man who designed it, or who receives the credit. Maybe he didn't design it. Okay, and it's a wooden table. These metallic cáncamos, tuercas, I mean, are all under $10 or $15. And the thing is that it's a mechanic stabilizer. The rope is a kite rope, so you can slide on it. I mean, doesn't get stuck. So if the kite goes up or goes down, the square is always stable, right? But it's mechanic. This is a technique. I mean, this was developed in the beginning of the 20th century and was used in the Verdun trench war. I mean, was used in war. This was put into a Zeppelin and take pictures of the enemy trenches. The other ones tried to take it down. You attach it to the line like this. I mean, this was carrying maybe 15 kilograms cameras, huge Zeppelins with huge wooden cameras. Yeah, and it stays stable. Let's see what happens. I've flown 3 times. I have to recognize with this, and all the other flights have been with the pendulum. That is more easy to attach and so on, but it's uglier or so. I think I'm going to stop talking. And if you have some questions, or we can go. Suena? Can you talk a little bit higher? I have this projector doing.
Maybe a little introduction to what we will do.
What we will do?
Yeah.
We're going to go to take a tram now, the tranvia, and we're going to go to have the Sanaderia. We're going to go to this station here, walk down here, and look for a place to do the extraction of the sludge. This takes three people to do it. If someone has a special interest in doing it. And we're going to eat there. And then around 2, it looks like there will be good conditions of wind. I think it will come from here, so we can go to this beach here, never get into the water there, and yeah, and take some pictures of this facility maybe, or this one. Afterwards, we're going to come here, and we're going to do the density column of Regine and I can't remember his name. Sorry, Christian. I've never done it, but as they were going to do it, and it looks like it's a little bit easy, we're going to do one of the. I mean, no, it's simple, not easy, no, not so complicated. We need to let the. I mean, you put all the different density liquids, and then drop the plastics, and it takes at least 1 hour for the plastics to go down. In the meantime, we'll be building a tiny electronic circuit that is a conductivity sensor. I mean, it's a device that in the place of a number, when you use a conductivity sensor, it gives you a number. No, it's 5, it's 4. This generates a sound wave. Depending on the conductivity of the liquid, the sound is higher or is lower. And yeah, it's basically an activity we do with kids, so they can hear the changes in water. And after that, we're going to check how the plastics were down there, and maybe measure the conductivity of all that density, different liquids, and take some beers after that. Sí. Sunscreen, water. You will enjoy the tiny device, Leandra. Va, sí. Vaya chapa.
¿Qué va?
Dejo encendido esto.